Happy Miracle Monday. This is Dawn Petalino. I'm a spiritual transformational coach, and on Miracle Monday what I do is I offer just some tips and some tools, but most importantly some truths based on spiritual principles, specifically A Course of Love and A Course in Miracles, but other spiritual teachers, and simply to remind you of what you already know to be true. And you know it's true because when you feel it, there's something in you that says, I knew that. And that's what we're here to do, is to remind each other. So Miracle Monday is about that. It's about so you can go out and live a life as a miracle worker, remembering who you really are in this world. Well, today's Miracle Monday is called an exercise in forgetting. And what I mean by that is a lot of times, we kind of plan our day, or we go into a situation, especially a situation that's unfamiliar, and we're frightened. We're frightened of how's it going to go, and will it turn out the way I want it to, or will I not get what I want? And we walk into it fearful of the outcome, fearful of how will I do, fearful of judging ourselves, or kind of wary of what the other person's going to do. So we're kind of already judging the other person. And what the Course of Love tells us is in these moments, you have to practice an exercise in forgetting. That means we have to catch ourselves, and this is the first thing it says, is there's a recognition that happens where we catch ourselves blaming, either blaming ourselves or blaming someone else, and we just stop and we notice and we say, I notice I am blaming. I notice I'm blaming myself, or I notice I'm blaming someone else. And in that moment, we have to just drop it. We have to say, I choose not to. And just drop it. Not justify it, not justify why we shouldn't be blamed, or justify why the other person should be blamed. No, you just drop it. Just like you just have that hot potato and you just dropped it. I'm not even going there. I notice I'm blaming and I recognize it. Now I'm going to drop it. Now here's what happens is whenever we drop it, we become present with what is actually happening. And so without some kind of preconceived notion of blame or shame, we just are present with what's happening. We're not going to fault the other person or ourselves. And now this is the interesting thing. When we are present, there is an acknowledgement of what is happening and an acceptance. The Course of Love tells us in that dropping of it, there will be a new idea. There will be an acknowledgement and an acceptance of what is happening in that present moment. Now, an interesting thing occurs. When we're not judging it, this is where new ideas come in. This is where new thought comes in. This is where we allow that crack a space for that divine higher self to perceive the situation for us, so we can recognize every moment as a moment to live a life of truth and a moment to be an expression of love in it. And the Course of Love says that when we come to acknowledge a particular situation or experience, when we experience something and we acknowledge it as what is happening, we observe it, and we're present with what's happening, that is to experience it as a human being. But when we go through an experience, or we're in the experience, and we acknowledge it as what is happening, as a gift from God in this moment, now we experience it as a divine being having a human experience. I'll repeat that. When you go into a situation and you're present with the situation and you acknowledge what is happening, you are having the experience as a human being. You're observing it. When you go into the situation acknowledging what is happening as a gift from God, then we experience it as a divine being having a human experience. Remember, when we go into the situation originally, we come with our fears. But when we say, I'm going to drop the blame, I'm not going to blame myself here, and I'm not going to blame the other person, we become present with what is. And then knowing as well, acknowledging it as a gift from God, we now experience it as a divine being having this human experience, which also means that we will experience what is really happening there. We will experience the truth of the situation, not the fear, and we will be living under the laws of love. So whenever we walk in today, and I hope that you take this with you today, in whatever space, whatever situation you walk into, if you catch yourself, and this is where we practice, we catch ourselves, blaming someone else, and we drop it. Say, I'm not even going there. I choose not to go there. And in that moment, we're leaving a crack of space that if I'm not judging it, what is? And now that allows the moment itself to present itself to us. But whenever we also take it a step further and acknowledge that everything is a gift, everything. Course of Love says you must cultivate this idea of beneficence. The universe is abundant and beneficent. So it's good. But when we walk into it and say, this is a gift, then we come as a student. We come into that situation, and now we're going to experience it as a divine being in connection, in union with our source, having a human experience. And in that moment, truth will be revealed. I can't tell you the times that I've been willing to drop my story in that moment, especially if I wanted to blame somebody else, or if we want to shame ourselves, but drop my story and say, I don't even know what this is about. But I'm trusting in this moment there's a gift here, there's a lesson here, and it is good. And just waiting for revelation. It is amazing to me how the relationship that started out as fiery could have gone wrong, but in that power of that pause and acknowledgement as a gift, a new idea occurred to me and I saw it differently. And the relationships came into harmony and love was revealed. And that is the power of that practice. So I hope you take that with you today. If this resonates with you and you'd like to find out more, I encourage you to check out my website, www.donpetalino.com, and you can find some blogs and meditations and other resources and books and so forth. I encourage you to practice that pause today and to acknowledge it as a gift of God, whatever the situation, and just see what miracles occur. Happy Miracle Monday, and I look forward to seeing you next week. Bye for now.